Can you do me a little favor and just put your fingers to the screen? Thanks, it'll only take a second. Yeah, that's a wrap, boy. If you're a little bit confused and disorientated, I did that to prove a point. And that point is, I'm an ally to women. Throughout my entire life, I've routinely tried my best to be as much of a male feminist as I possibly can. I would even go so far that in my younger years, and sometimes even now, I would put on women's heels, makeup, and dresses, so I know what it's like to walk a mile in their shoes. And as such a natural ally to women, I feel like it's my place and my duty to speak for women when they can't be heard. Now, in the cases where they can't be heard, does that mostly occur inside gender studies classes? Yes, but not on purpose. I'm just simply better at explaining women's studies to, women, and speaking for women in those women's circumstances. In the past, when I've said things like that, I keep getting called something like a macaconistic, which jokes on you, dumb bitch, I've never even done gymnastics, and plus I still feel like my point stands. All jokes aside, I do have some level of sympathy for women. After all, it's not their fault that their great-great ancestor took a bite out of an apple and damned them for all eternity, but they also have to put up with some ridiculous crap like catcalling, and guys like me who think they are funny but are probably just actually being misogynistic. And now apparently they have to put up with some real creeps who go around in public libraries and sniff them. Today we're going to be talking about something that kind of shook me to my core a little bit, as I had no idea dudes could be this depraved, or at least so openly flaunting about it. I would like to introduce you to Michaela Witter on TikTok, and I'm going to emphasize that name because when I learnt about this story and looked up research for it, everybody and their mother just referred to her as the lady, which makes me so furious, not only from a research point of view because it took me ages to find her actual account, but because it's so fucking disrespectful towards the lady that you couldn't have at least actually shouted her out and linked her actual TikTok account. Ray William Johnson! Now, Michaela is what I would call a lifestyle variety TikToker. More or less, she does challenges, but not cool badass challenges, like driving monster trucks or seeing how long you can get away with it. It's more like girly pop funk challenges, and the best example of what she does happens to be what we're going to be talking about today, fantastically enough. Her main Pride and Joy series, the thing that really sets her apart from others, is Michaela's Solo Date Challenge. The concept is incredibly simple. Michaela has a jar that's in her room, and in this jar is a bunch of notes filled with ideas typically enjoyed by couples. Now, let me preference this by saying I know Michaela is the victim in this scenario I'm talking about, but I gotta rib her a little bit. What the f is a solo date idea? Bro, it's just called going outside. Like, yeah, okay, some of these ideas in her jars would be better with another person, sure. But bro, a concert isn't even a date thing. You can just go. I mean, for me personally, if Jid was in town, I can absolutely guarantee that anybody I know would not want to go with me, so I'd have to just go by myself anyway. Although there's two sides to that coin, because on the plus side, I can say the N-word as much as I want because I'll get muffled with the crowd. But regardless, on one of these solo date ideas that she pulled from her magic jar was to go to the library and then go to Starbucks after the fact. And it was there where our tale begins, because Michaela's spidey sense started spidey sensing. Out of the corner of her eye, she began to notice a rather tall, and I gotta be honest with you, very intimidating looking man following her around the storefront. Now, Michaela didn't want to be rude and assume that this actually was happening, so she decided to get her camera out, which works out fine anyway, because even if she wasn't being followed, it still helps to get B-roll for her TikTok. She then proceeded to move about the store, and eerily enough, this big and tall fella kept following her about.
But this is the area that it started. I was in this corner for a while, and I noticed the guy was staring at me through that little hole, and I couldn't tell if I was being paranoid or if he was just reading a book and he just happened to be in that little corner. Anyways, it felt like anywhere I moved, he kept following.
But I'm not just sure if my boy is brazy. Ugh, no, that felt like a hate crime saying that. White dudes using black slang always just rubs my tip wrong. The worst thing that's happened in recent years is the fact that we all just got so used to people saying Riz casually. Let me rephrase myself. I'm not sure if my boy bold AF, but even with the camera being in a clear line of sight and propped up in a way to indicate recording, tall boy over here was not put off by it. And now this is the part where your toes are gonna curl in disgust. In spite of, in my opinion, knowing that you're being recorded, and in spite of, in my opinion, being known by the person you're stalking that you are stalking them, our Oak, whose full name is Khalees Crowder, as it was later discovered, does the old cha-cha knee slide and takes in a big old whiff.
So I recorded just in case he was trying to say anything or do anything to me. But I definitely didn't expect him to do this. Like, what the actual
It's a special kind of violation in my opinion. A real cream of the creepy crop. Michaela at this point, and honestly incredibly bravely, confronts him.
What are you doing?
A brass ball moves, by the by, because again, that dude is easily over 6'1", and Michaela can't be taller than 5'4" at a maximum. Why is that important? Well, brew, with no exaggeration whatsoever, with a difference in height and both of them being at normal weights for those heights, he could unironically stuff her into a burlap sack and run off 1800s villain style. Like, I myself, who's 5'8" and a half, trust me, that's important if you're a bloke. That half-inch has saved me more than once. I am just below the average male height in most European countries. And even with my strength advantage, as a physically born male, he could probably sniff me all day long. Because without a shadow of doubt, he could flatten me like a pancake while I'm just trying to swing on my tippy toes. Regardless, Michaela confronting him spooked our friend Khalees enough that he scurried away like a little rat, but not before catching another whiff as a takeout for later.
Because he hasn't said anything or touched me or anything. But then you notice that he goes over and does the same thing to this girl. And he'll crouch down low and pretend like he's doing something and then smell? I don't know.
Michaela then proceeded to go tell the front desk, but before anything could be done about the fact, he was gone. A freaky incident, no doubt, and one that Michaela uploaded to TikTok to warn other women in the California area about this man's behaviors. And of course, due to the bizarre nature of the post, it went semi-viral, sparking a kind of manhunt/report gate in which we got another clip of Khalees doing the same thing to another woman.
Are you following me?
No. My bad.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't following you. My bad. It's literally like a 3-year-old in trouble. Now, Mitchell, what do you have to say to Miss Robinson?
I'm sorry I took the last chocolate.
And
That I kept sniffing your underwear in your drawer.
now, although I've already mentioned that we already know this guy's name, I never actually told you how we got that name. Because in a very funny little world, it turns out that this isn't Khalees's first rodeo. And he was in fact arrested years ago for stalking a former NBA player's daughter, for which he was sentenced for a total of 8 years. Now, there has been some floaty reports that Khalees may be something of a serial predator, to which I have to respond and say, no. Khalees is the predator. The goat of the game, if you would. As aside from the 8-year sentence, at most, according to some reports, he has been arrested over 40 times, of which those arrests are for similar offenses, but realistically, he has been caught 6 times. And I'm here to round off his career highlights for you. 2011. The crime of peeping an occupied residential building. The start of his legacy. The crime of peeping is typically treated as a misdemeanor, but if you're an athlete like Khalees, you're hitting a 30-yard kick in the top bins, my man. And so you're actually peeping against a minor in an occupied residence, which is automatically upgraded to felony, with a max sentence of 3 years on top of that tasty little treat. This combined with his felony burglary charge, God, try saying that 5 times fast, which also maxes out at about 6 years hard time, meaning that his maximum sentence would have been 8 years, but he was only sentenced to 7, just a point shy. However, to the best of my knowledge, it seems he didn't serve that sentence in jail and was enjoying himself a nice little suspended sentence. Basically, that means if you fuck up, you are going down. And the reason I'm assuming that is because in 2012, a year after his first arrest, the MVP got arrested, this time with first-degree burglary and attempted second-degree. They decided to compact that beautiful little suspended sentence of his into a sexy 9 years, of which he only served 6. If you're asking why, it's because the champ is too good to be behind bars, but in actuality, I'm pretty sure it's just because of overcrowding. Due to the natures of his crimes being non-violent, he was most likely to be let go first, as opposed to the man who stabby McStabs people. After which, he only served 1 year on the parole, which is deeply disturbing, but what can you do? Meaning, by 2019, he was a fully free man. And not long after, while we were all cowering from COVID in 2021, our boy here was embracing it from either mouth or ass, as he was caught again doing another sexual crime, of which there is no details, and his severe punishment for that was a sexual notice bulletin, or public service bulletin basically. 2 years of rest and recovery, our boy was ready to go again, and in 2023 he comes out of retirement, repeating that classic crime he is so good at, peeping at children and a family. He then pleaded no contest, sending him straight back to jail. However, again, due to overcrowding, and due to the fact that his crimes were non-violent, he was released again, which brings us to the modern day. Currently on the Boxing Day of 2023, December 26, his whereabouts are completely unknown, and he could be roaming around getting ready to spoil some people's New Year's. If this makes you angry and infuriated, I completely understand, but to keep its reals, homies, this isn't so much a prison system failure, as much as it is a failure of proper lack of support. Let me lay down some wisdom on you, bro. Guys like this are never gonna stop. I'm not making excuses for this dude, but it's fairly obvious that his brain is absolutely hardwired to do this, because after being sentenced to jail, you would kind of be incentivized to stop. What I'm saying is, there should be more appropriate appropriate mental health facilities to deal with predators such as this. And unfortunately, with the US's standard when it comes to anything relating to health, nothing's gonna change. And let's be realistic about this, me saying this isn't gonna change anything for you guys over there. The best piece of advice I could possibly give to all of you, if you live in the California area, lock your fucking doors. Because homie is on the loose and he ain't stopping. Speaking of being loose, I'm gonna go take a fat shit, and then you can be loose with your liberties and move that sexy little finger of yours over to the subscribe button. My name is Dino. Merry Christmas, a bit late to all of you, and I hope you have a happy new year. See you next time, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.